Geocachomaniacs.
Geo Gearheads.
Well, welcome to Geo Gearheads. This is a weekly show about geocaching and geolocation games and all that go into it. I'm Chris of the Northwest, along with our host, Daryl W4. Daryl, how are you doing this evening?
I am doing very well. Still pandemic-free over here.
Oh,
but it does feel
a good status to have, isn't it?
It is, but it does feel like it's encroaching.
Ugh.
Yeah. So I'm actually getting a little bit more nervous.
Okay.
So, you know.
I know you didn't ask, but I'm going to throw it in there. I'm doing well. My family's well. I don't know anybody personally that has had it. So
I unfortunately do now know some people who have tested positive. So hopefully they're all going to be well. At this point, the reports are still good.
Yeah.
But they're fortunately all fairly young and should recover.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a little bit unnerving. You know, even though I don't know these people very well, since they're like people I've worked with, it's still very unnerving.
Well, I consider myself still pretty young. Others will not.
I was going to say, I've come to the conclusion I am not young, but that's because I work with a bunch of like 20-somethings.
So me yelling for the kids to get off my lawn, does that say anything about my age?
No.
Okay, good. Whew. I'll keep doing that then.
Here, see, and this is part of the reason why I'm feeling it encroach. Is according to GSM times 2, Detroit has a higher death rate per million than New York.
Yikes. And Wet Coaster says, I'm not young or pretty.
Well, we didn't get into the pretty part.
No, we didn't get into the pretty.
But yeah, so everyone's looking for stuff to occupy their days still. We are going to be trying something new tomorrow night, which I'm very excited about. We're going to be doing a patron game night tomorrow night from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern or 5 to 6 p.m. Pacific. It's actually the same time, you know, just time zone differences.
I thought I was going to have to do it on my own there for a while.
So it's an experiment. And hopefully we'll be able to do more than one of these because it is, I think, going to be a lot of fun. I'm a little worried that we might actually get too many people to play.
Is that going to be a problem? I don't think it is.
It is because the games that we're looking at have limits of anywhere from 6 to one of them, which is really a stupid game, has a 10 person limit.
Daryl, I'm just going to say, should we play it if you have to describe it that way?
Well, no, we shouldn't play it. So my point is really the games have like a 6 to 8 person limit.
Okay.
So it's entirely possible we get too many in there.
So you're saying the dumber the game, the higher person limit there's involved?
Not quite, but yes, it definitely seems to be that way.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to stop while I'm ahead. I may not be. I don't even know the score.
Well, hopefully you're more than just ahead. Hopefully you're the full body.
I'm not wearing pants. I mean, why? What's the purpose of wearing pants anymore?
Well, but that's not actually part of the body. That covers the body.
Oh, okay.
Kind of like the bag that they put. Never mind. But why don't we go into puzzles? Because a lot of people are actually sitting around at home trying to do those right now. So we're going to bring in our puzzle expert, Jennifer of TeamAJK. Welcome back to the show.
Hi, thanks. It's always good to be here.
And for people who don't remember, what is the name of that blog that you tend to do that kind of has something to do with puzzles?
Yes, my blog is Geocaching Puzzle of the Day, and it's in its, oh my goodness, like 9th or 10th year. It's 9th year, I guess, that we're going now. And every day we have a puzzle from somewhere around the world for your enjoyment. They range widely in difficulties and themes, but just something that I had found and enjoyed, or somebody else had found and enjoyed and passed along to me. It's a chance to kind of experience maybe a wider range of puzzles than you might in your own area, and get some experience, and also just kind of give a little bit of publicity to these folks that are creating, unique and clever and fun things that may not be seen by too many folks. So that's the idea.
Nice. Well, I've started looking at the geocaching puzzle of the day now for the last, I don't know, couple of weeks. And, you've got some good puzzles on there. Some of them I look at and go, I think I can do this. And, about 15 minutes into it, I said, nope, that idea is wrong. Okay, well, I gave it a shot. That's a time I could devote right then. Because,
Sure, absolutely. And you may find that a day or two later, there's a thought that'll pop into your head and you'll be like, oh, wait, what if I tried that? And, so... and some of these that I've been sharing recently, somebody just commented that it would wear on you. It does wear on you a little bit. I have over the last year started doing some kind of best of and rerun puzzles, but I actually enjoy going back and looking at some of those from, 4, 5, 8 years ago. I don't necessarily remember how they worked, and I can have fun doing them all over again. So I doubt anybody out there has been with me every single day in all that time. So, there's usually new ones for people to see. So it's fun.
Well, they're all new to me.
Well, enjoy. Happy to have you.
Thank you. It is fun.
And if you ever have any that you've done, that aren't on the blog, please do send them to me, because that's sometimes how I get my best fodder, is people have done something, enjoyed it, and think other people would like it, and they pass it along.
Yeah, this is an interesting thing that GSM times 2 brought up in the chat. Is a person who found one of his caches pointed out something out to me. People who like puzzle caches, like puzzles, they buy the books and they just like the challenge. Puzzle caches are just a type of puzzle, and he was surprised as to find out how many people solved his puzzle who live out of the area and will never find it.
Right. Yeah. That's always been my feeling about puzzles. It does not bother me one bit to solve a puzzle and know that I will never be able to go and find it. I just like puzzles, and I do sometimes enjoy looking on the street view and seeing, where the cache might be if I've solved it. And I feel like I can sort of geocache remotely that way. I never log them, of course. I'm not an armchair logger, but I can be an armchair cacher, which, especially during these times of not being able to go out, I can visit anywhere around the world that I want to.
It still scratches that itch.
Oh, it definitely does for me. I mean, I live upstate in New York, and we have pretty cruddy weather. We had snow on the ground this morning, actually. So
wow,
we have pretty bad weather in the winter.
Snowstorm yesterday was unbelievable for mid-April.
So,
and it's supposed to be tax day, and we had snowstorms with multiple alerts going off about the snowstorm. Yep. It was like just so surreal.
But tax day got pushed back. Right. Now there's a puzzle to solve, right? Taxes?
I've done puzzles about taxes. I've done ones that had like a tax form where you had to figure out this and such, or look up different forms in the IRS. And that used to be one of my little challenges for myself. I just kind of think of some kind of random topic and say, okay, I wonder if I can find a puzzle about, teeth or taxes or, pretty much anything. And so far, it's very rare that there's a topic that I can think of that I can't find some puzzle somebody has created about it.
GSM times 2 asks, do you solve the puzzles that you post?
I have solved, I'm going to say 99% of the puzzles that I post.
That's really good.
Sometimes people, that was my original rule. When I first started, I said, okay, I'm not going to post anything that I haven't solved. Over the years, I've had a few kind of guest bloggers that have, maybe taken over for a week or so and will share ones that they have enjoyed. And I can't say I've solved 100% of those, but I'm sure it's 99%. Now, of course, there are thousands of puzzles that I also have not solved. So sometimes people think I must solve everything, but I absolutely don't solve everything I look at. You're just seeing the ones that I I did solve, and there's plenty more. I could do a whole other 10 years of geocaching puzzle of the day that I can't solve. But
I was just going to suggest that might actually be a cool topic.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
like this day,
yes.
Saturday or whatever, do the unsolvable puzzle.
Well, I don't want an unsolvable one by anybody. I mean, though nobody likes that, but there's
No.
certainly plenty of them out there that other people are, oh, it was the first thing I tried and how fun. And I'm like tearing my hair out after 4 days. But
That's like every puzzle I do is,
yeah. I really want people to realize that. I think sometimes new puzzle cachers think that, because they have trouble, they, must not be any good at it, or they don't want to try it, and that everybody else is figuring everything out. And that's totally not the case,
Oh, that's me. Yeah. When the people say, yeah, I looked at it, got it right away. I don't like you. I don't even want to do this puzzle now because I looked at it and I couldn't figure it out.
Well, kind of on the other side of the
won't
coin.
solve it just to spite you. Wait.
Ooh, wow.
That doesn't,
On the other side of the
Kevin
coin,
Lewis.
though, GSM times 2 is looking for hints on hiding what makes a good puzzle hide, and when is the puzzle too easy or too hard?
Well, those are some good questions. I think in terms of hiding, I think some of the things that make any cache fun would go along with making a puzzle cache fun in terms of the hide. If you can tie something about the puzzle itself or the container that you're using to the location that you're choosing, that can make it kind of extra fun, I think. Sort of along the lines of what WV Tim was saying a couple weeks ago about his gadget caches. Sometimes the location of the cache ties in perfectly with whatever theme you're doing, and that can really work nicely with a puzzle cache. I did a series of caches myself that were based on Game of Thrones was the tie-in, but I had them. The puzzles involved different games, and so some of the locations were outside of game stores, and one of them had a theme about the wall, in Game of Thrones, and I put it at Walmart because I don't know, that amused me. And just funny little things like that, where you can make some kind of a little tie-in with the puzzle and the theme of the puzzle. And there's so many ways to incorporate a theme, from the title to the pictures to even like a resonant coin or whatever you might have in there, or the story that you're telling with the puzzle. In terms of puzzles being too easy or too hard, a lot of that is in the eye of the beholder. I think there's absolutely a place for very easy puzzles. I think there's also a place for very hard puzzles. It just kind of depends on what your goal is and what your audience is like around you. What people are going to enjoy. I know there are puzzles that are put out in other parts of the country that I wouldn't put out here, just because I don't think people would enjoy them. There isn't the volume of people doing those kinds of puzzles. So if I were going to write that kind of puzzle, I'd either have to put a lot of extra hints in, or drop some more breadcrumbs or something like that to make it an enjoyable puzzle for my area. I think the easiest one I have, I think, is one of those ones where you draw the stick man. And I know people that have gone back and done that one more than once just because it's fun to draw the stick man. So it had a little penny falling down as part of the thing where you're doing the drawing, and so I called the cache, it was about when the penny drops, and I used a penny, one of those pennies with a little tiny thing underneath for the container, where it opens up and you've got the little tiny log in there. So I tried to tie in the theme that way. Hard puzzles, again, most puzzles are probably harder than you think they are. Since you know how it works, the puzzle is actually harder than you think it is. I highly recommend, with any level of puzzle, before you put it out, have somebody test it. Mm-hmm. They can give you tips as to what might be hard or confusing, ambiguous in some way, and you can, kind of tighten it up based on people's suggestions. I don't think necessarily want to make a hard puzzle just for the sake of making a hard puzzle. I think it's a mistake to try and make a 4.5 or a 5-star puzzle in your first few puzzles. I mean, I've written probably, I don't know how many puzzles I've written, a lot, and I've never done one that's 5-star. I just don't feel like I can do a really, really good one, even as many as I've done. So,
Interesting.
Yeah, it's got to be something really, really special and tight. And it's hard to write good puzzles. I think I've gotten better. When I look back at some of my early work, I'm kind of like, but I've evolved, and I think just like solving them, you get better at writing them and understanding how other people are going to interpret what you write.
Well, and one of the problems that I've run into with some of the puzzles around here is they either reference markers that have gone missing or become hard to read, and some of them even are kind of a little bit too much of the times.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people will reference things like Wikipedia articles, which change too often.
Right.
So there are some of those kind of pitfalls you have to watch out for as well.
Yeah, so just like any other cache, you've got to do your maintenance. You've got to be sure that, the images are still there, or be sure that if you're doing physical things out there, that they're still there, they're still legible. I know we had a Wikipedia-based cache, and it changed a lot, and we kept updating it and updating it, and finally had to get archived because the location wasn't going to last. But yeah, those are absolutely things you have to watch out for.
Well, and I had one cache that I had to archive. Actually, it was a series of caches where it referenced a specific quote site, from a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
And they changed the site significantly enough that you couldn't easily find the answers. You were coming up with multiple solutions for the same puzzle.
Yeah.
So that was the end of that one.
Right. That ambiguity is a killer. People hate that worse than anything. So I have one of my own. I actually have to, I should probably put out a new version. It's called Too Much Time on My Hands. And because clearly doing all these puzzles, I have too much time on my hands. But the theme of the puzzle is actually nail polish, meaning the other type of time on my hands. And the nail polish colors have changed, over the years with the numbers. And so it's getting much harder to find the data to be able to look up the things that you're supposed to look up. So I really need to write a new version of it. I think especially given the situation we're in, once I get out of work, I still have about a month left in my semester. But after that, when we can't go, if we still can't go anywhere or, do anything, I will have even more time on my hands. But I will need to be writing puzzles. So.
GSN times 2 wants to know your opinion on putting red herrings in the puzzle portion.
I think, you can kind of go two ways with that. I have one puzzle myself that's called 9 Little Fishies, and it purposefully has like 9 red herrings in there, and that's kind of the point, is to see if you can find them all. And I'm sort of trying to teach you different places to look for things, and you certainly don't have to find them all to solve the puzzle, but finding them kind of then became part of the fun to see if you could find them. I think if you're upfront about the fact that there are red herrings there, I think that's fine. My own personal preference, I don't enjoy a red herring that's meant to try to trick me, but that's just my personal preference. I don't mind looking a lot of places, but I don't like the feeling of investing a whole lot of effort, and then if I've decrypted some kind of really crazy complicated something, and then the answer is like, nope, nothing here. It's kind of like, okay, well, now what? But
what about any of the other colors of herring? Because like Ian says, he likes any color, the blue, the red, the green.
Yep.
What about
herrings everywhere?
Well, they, again, some people, their puzzles are just full of them, and then I know that about them. So that's another thing. Once you learn a cacher's style, you know what to look for. I think when people do my puzzles, except for that one case, they're pretty sure I'm not going to put that kind of thing in there. Whereas somebody else, if they always have them in there, then sure.
You're pretty sure you're not going to put that.
And then Gary Wetcoaster asked where you stand on liar puzzles.
I think again, they probably have their place. You know, if it's April Fool's Day when the thing published or whatever, you know, you can tie that in with a theme. I'm not necessarily real big on ones that sort of artificially inflate your difficulty level or your terrain level. But you know, to each their own. I haven't written any like that, but
well, and I think under the current guidelines, you're really not supposed to do the liar caches.
Yeah, they may be, some of their older ones are probably still out there, but
yeah, so I'm not sure that I would really want to hit that up out of fear that your cache would be archived unexpectedly.
Yeah.
But
and if you're depending on the reviewer, some of the reviewers really want you to spell out exactly what it's all about, and you know, much more now I think than they used to. So you might not even be able to get it through the reviewing stage. Of course, here in New York, they're not reviewing any puzzles now. They're not reviewing anything now. We're not having any caches published at all. So we have to wait till this is all over.
That's a common theme these days, but it's not universal. So there are places where you can still do it.
Right. It does vary regionally, and I'm still seeing some come out.
GSM times 2 wants to know if someone thinks they've made a good puzzle, how would they submit it to your blog?
The easiest way is probably just to send me a message through geocaching.com. My geo name is TeamAJK. I'm the J part of the TeamAJK. Just send me a message through there and give me the GC code, and I'll be more than happy to take a look.
And it's TeamAJK, not Team or TeamAJK.
Yeah, TeamAJK, TeamAJK is the way I say it, but you can say it.
Yeah, I think that's actually the way that I said it the first time, and then we started calling it TeamAJK because it sounded cooler.
It does sound. It sounds very cool. Yeah.
And then I'm looking at it going, TeamAJK. I think I could use a cup of tea right now. I could use that magic tea maker.
Hey, I got my iced tea right here.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
All I have is my water.
I have my water as well. Let's all drink.
All right.
Okay. Every time the word puzzle is said, we have to take a drink.
Oh my!
I'll be in the bathroom.
That's a whole other kind of game.
Well, Ryan actually came from his puzzle group to make it all the way back to this discussion on puzzles.
Nice.
And I have heard about a few, and there was actually a couple of comments I think earlier in the chat about people who are doing Zoom sessions to solve puzzles. Which seems like a great social activity. And that's always one of the things I've enjoyed about the puzzles was grabbing like a whole series of puzzles, going to someone's house or to a coffee shop or something like that, and going through and solving a bunch.
Yeah, that sounds great. I do most of my puzzling on my own, but I've had the opportunity a few times to be able to do joint solving, a lot of times just with a joint, like a Google spreadsheet or whatever, throwing in ideas or talking back and forth on, Facebook or whatever. I do remember one really classic one though, where I think we were on Skype, and I had one person on Skype and I had somebody else on the phone, and we were kind of doing this 3-way puzzle solve. And when we finally figured it out, it was just, it was quite fun. So I would like to do more of that, but I don't always get the chance.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people doing the puzzle solves either in groups like that or just sitting around the television doing puzzle caches instead of crossword puzzles in the paper or whatever. Because who actually gets a newspaper anymore?
Wait, there are newspapers?
There are like 2, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, they print like 2 a day. So that's the problem, is you have to get those 2, and there's no one out to deliver them right now. Anyway.
Oh, I never thought of that.
No, just joking. But in any case,
there's a lot of ones I've seen coming out lately for GeoArts that are the online jigsaw puzzle type.
Yeah, you were
Lots
mentioning
and
that
lots and
earlier.
lots of those coming out right now, and so I know a lot of it. I think jigsaw puzzles in a way they can be kind of meditative. You've got this thing to do, and it's a very set task. It's not anything you have to really figure out. You just have to use those parts of your brain to examine the things and get the colors and the shapes and move them around. So I think those have kind of struck a chord right now for a lot of people, that they can spend the time and turn the brain off of other stuff.
My mother loved jigsaw puzzles. She'd have a special table out with a puzzle on it.
Mm-hmm.
And, then she'd get one that was really hard. And she says, come on over and work on it.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. It's your puzzle. Why am I working on it? Yeah. Okay. I want to do this too.
Yeah. I wouldn't do the huge ones by myself. I would enjoy that more as a group activity as well.
GSM,
but there's also, no, go ahead.
I was going to say GSM's trying to poke me here.
Okay.
He says, does Chris hide puzzle caches? And I assume this is the Chris you're talking about because, well, I'm narcissistic that way. Yes, I've hidden puzzle caches. It was interesting. I hit a puzzle cache and a traditional cache in the same week. And that traditional cache probably had 10 times the find of my puzzle cache. And, eventually the puzzle cache got found so infrequently, the knot that I hid it into a tree, it closed up and encapsulated the cache. So I did have to get rid of that. I had another one that was a field puzzle. So you had to figure out how to open up this container when you found the cache. So there was nothing to finding it. It was just how are you going to get the log?
Mm-hmm.
And I do enjoy those puzzles as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sure. I feel like you're absolutely right about the percentage of finders on a puzzle cache versus a traditional cache. But I have to say that, at least in my case, I feel like the people who find my puzzle caches enjoy them a lot more, and they have a lot more to say in the logs, and they may have come around just specifically to do puzzle caches.
Mm-hmm.
People who do it's like the person was saying a few minutes ago, people who do puzzle caches really like to do puzzle caches.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll go to an area and just do the puzzle caches. That's the way I am when I cache. People that I cache with that really aren't puzzlers think I'm absolutely bonkers because I'm driving right by, I'm like,
Right.
Nope, we're getting this puzzle next and I could tell them all about what the puzzle was and how cool it was. And, I think I was really interested again with what West Virginia Tim was saying about having a big stash of favorite points to give out. I am the exact opposite. I really target the caches that I want to do because they were good puzzles, and I throw those favorite points around. I never have any. I always come back from a trip and I say, okay, I'm going to have to come back and give you one just as soon as I scare some up because I love them. So I think that's the payoff. You don't get a whole lot of logs on your puzzle caches, but the people that do them really do appreciate them generally.
See, I'm thinking you have to find a whole bunch of park and grabs so that you can build up your stash.
I know, I do. I need to do that sometime just for that
kind of
specific purpose.
It's kind of like what we used to call farming in Ingress. You had to go out and just sit there and hack all the portals just so that you could get the supplies so you could play the game.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, you have to go find all those nasty guardrail caches and parking lot skirt lifters, that kind of thing, just so that you can earn the favorite points that you want to give to the caches that deserve them.
It's true. I do. I can't be a puzzle snob.
GSM times 2 says it's taken him 2 days to create his puzzle, and it's hard for him to justify that time time for the number of times the cache will be found.
And again, that's a personal preference. I honestly have some that I've spent, I don't know, I don't want to say weeks, but probably weeks, creating. But I enjoy doing it. So, if I enjoy doing it, that's why I'm doing it. So I think that's the name of the game with anything related to geocaching. If it's not fun, I was trying to do a streak caching one time. I know a lot of people really like to do that, fill in the calendars and do the streak and everything. And I just did not find it fun. And I was saying, why am I doing this? This is supposed to be fun. So let's not do this. So yeah, if you don't enjoy it, by all means, don't feel like you have to.
Well, one of the things that might be interesting to look at is how many of those finders on the puzzle cache came out and did the rest of the caches. It could be that that's actually a magnet drawing people to the area that wouldn't otherwise have come.
Hmm.
You know,
I
having
know.
those
Yeah.
variety of caches does bring people out that normally wouldn't necessarily do those caches if it was just like a power trail, but they'll come out for something else.
Yeah, and you want to have a variety. You know, people like to do their busy day or whatever. It's nice to have a variety of different things. I mean, like I go, I've gone on quite a few just purely puzzle caching trips that I know I wouldn't have taken to places. So, you
And
know,
there's the
we
busy
may not be the
icon
volume
days.
of people that are going to go do like a, ET highway or something, but it's got to be some number. You know, there are people coming to your area and coming to spend their money and visit that wouldn't have come otherwise. So, hey,
Absolutely. And there's something to be said for, like, the busy icon days and just getting a variety of caches all at once. Just Finding Our Way says that puzzle caches are easier to maintain since they don't get visited by inexperienced cachers that leave the container open. The trouble with that is what Chris was saying, that sometimes you'll have the natural environment growing up around it, and then you can't find it again.
right.
I actually had not a puzzle cache, but a challenge cache where a tree fell on the actual cache container, and I couldn't even find where the cache container was because the damage was so extensive. It was okay. Time to archive this one.
Yeah.
So kind of the
Well,
downside.
if you enjoy lonely caches too, sometimes people like to do lonely caches. Your puzzle caches can be very nice candidates for that. And I always love it when people come in and maybe find some of my lonely ones. That means I don't have to go worry about maintenance because somebody's checked it and reported that it's still there and still works. And I've even gone out and met people that have come in from out of town, that they've been looking for one of my caches and they can't find it. They'll send me a message and I'll be like, oh, wait, I'm just a couple minutes away. I'll come meet you. So I've had the opportunity to meet some cachers that way. I've driven around people. I'll put out my invitation. If you come to Ithaca and want to do puzzle caching, you solve my puzzles, come here. I'll drive you around. You won't even have to find a place to park. I'll help you find them. I enjoy meeting the other puzzlers and just talking to them because we are kind of I don't know, maybe a little niche, in geocaching. And I've had some wonderful people do the same for me when I have traveled. Beforehand, I'll often contact one of the puzzlers whose work I've enjoyed, and ask them if maybe we could get together for an ice cream cone or something like that while I'm there. And more than one of them have very graciously taken the time to kind of escort me around, so I can get some extra finds. And puzzle cachers are nice people. We appreciate it when you find our caches. So we will help you solve them. We will help you find them. We will, do whatever we can to promote our habit.
Oh, Chris, I think you're actually muted.
Oops. Technical difficulties.
I did it to myself when I had a little coughing fit. Sorry.
Yeah, I kind of figured.
Water went down the wrong way.
Uh-oh.
I'm healthy. It's interesting. You have to explain a cough now.
Yeah.
Jennifer, have you had people who have solved your caches, in another state or some distance away, and then contact you and said, "Hey, I'm going to come on, I'm coming next week."
Mm-hmm.
Are the caches there to find? Are they in good shape?
Absolutely. I've definitely had that. And if I'm around, I have offered to meet up with them. And if I'm not around, I'll give out my phone number. I'll say, if you need to text a friend or whatever, because you don't know anybody here, feel free to, send me a message and I'll help you out however I can. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Now, one of the things I did want to chat about tonight, because it keeps coming up is how you're dealing with those puzzle solutions. And we're talking kind of the whole thing of not just the answers themselves, but what information do you keep and how?
Right.
Now, as I recall, you don't really have any great strategy for that.
I really don't. This is one of those cases where it's kind of do what I say and not what I do. um, I am still mostly a pencil and paper solver. I think a lot of people work so much with spreadsheets and Google Docs and things like that. They're very comfortable just doing the work actually in the computer. They'll copy a whole Sudoku or a crossword puzzle or something like that into a spreadsheet and work on it that way. I am still really pencil and paper oriented. I print everything and I work on it, or I have a little notebook, or more often than not, it's like the back of an envelope or something like that. And so I tend to really not be that organized about keeping track of things. If I get the puzzle solved, then I'll change the coordinates on the cache page, and I'll use the little note space to not only put the coordinates, but put some kind of a reminder to myself about how the puzzle worked, or if I needed a particular website to link to, I'll paste that in there, something like that. So it works pretty well for those cases. I think if you can get in the habit of keeping some sort of a Google spreadsheet or some sort of online storage keeping, it is beneficial. Just you can sort through, you can find things so much easier that way. Once you solve a puzzle, it's not a bad idea within geocaching.com to put it on a bookmark. That way you can find it again. I think searching on geocaching.com has gotten easier than it used to be, because you can actually search for things with corrected coordinates or things with notes. So that's a positive change I think I've seen. But the trickier ones, I feel like, really are the ones that you don't solve. Where do I don't keep my little pieces of paper. Some people do. They'll have notebooks and they'll print everything and keep these very organized binders, like by state or by year or whatever. I wish I would be that organized. I tried one year to start a notebook and always write everything in the same notebook at least, but yeah, it didn't work that well. So if I could, I would love to get in the habit of having one big, like a Google spreadsheet with each tab was a different puzzle. And then as I solved it, I could, like hide that tab or turn it a different color or something like that, and just keep the ones open that I was still working on, that I wanted to go back to, and keep track of the things I had already tried. I am terrible at keeping track of the things I've already tried. And I end up going over the same ground sometimes over and over, because I always think this is going to be it, but when it's not, I want to move on to the next thing rather than writing down what I did that didn't work. So, there's lots and lots of different strategies. I know you guys used to talk about, what was it, Evernote?
Evernote, yeah,
but
which I've totally stopped using now, because it got too clunky. Then they started charging too much for it. But the thing I liked about that was it really gave you that multi-user experience. It really worked for groups of people to solve them. Hey, check out my work. Here's this one. Go into that. But at this point, I don't have anything quite so robust, especially for doing the shared notes. I'm still doing a lot of it in just Apple Notes, because it's on the phone, it's on my Macs, and just easy to use. It's also on the web, so I can log into it from just about any device. It's just not quite as elegant on most of the others. But
I do know people that share those Google things and work on them together.
Yeah.
That definitely is a possibility with those kinds of documents. So
right. Well, and one of the things that's nice about Notes and several of the other tools like that now is it supports things like the pencil, the styluses. Mm-hmm. So you can actually go into a freehand writing mode. So you can draw your little doodles, your sketches, all that kind of stuff. It's just like having a piece of paper, but it's electronic and shareable. one of the tools that I've gotten quite fond of for taking notes in meetings and whatnot at work is called Good Notes on the iPad. So it's just emulating a notebook, but I can take those pages and export them to a PDF to share with someone else.
Mhm.
So it's a good way to keep some of those pieces of doodling and scratch pads around. And I think the way that I would want to do the Google thing is through a shared directory with multiple folders inside. So you have the like work in progress folder, the solved
Mhm.
folder, all these different folders that are always shared, and then just move the entire Google doc or the doc, the sheet, PDFs, whatever it is, from one folder to the other. And I'd probably name them something like the GC code,
Mhm.
but that would probably depend on what it is I'm trying to accomplish. So something like that probably works pretty well. But as far as the solutions, I'm doing pretty much the same thing. It goes in as a corrected chord. Not all of the apps that I've used supported that. So since long ago, I drop them all into a bookmark list. So I have it in both places and can easily generate a PQ or whatever from that, because PQs are one of those things that right now still doesn't support as corrected chords that I know of. But I will try to put something into the notes as to how it was solved. And sometimes that's a link back to the PDF on my Google Drive.
Mhm.
Chris, you were going to say, though.
I was going to say I'm a big fan of just the notes field on geocaching.com,
Mhm.
because what you save in there, you can also access from your mobile device, across multiple apps. So, if I work to solve things out in, a text editor or something like that, I will copy that into the notes field. So next time I jump back in and go, oh, okay, I already tried, Rot 13. Okay, that's pretty obvious, but you get what I'm saying.
Mhm.
That didn't work. So let's pick up from there and see what I need to do next.
Yeah, Ed in Facebook is saying 3-hole punched graph paper. You can work on individual pages and arrange as needed in a very large ring binder. I also use Excel with tabs for each puzzle. Set tab color to red, yellow, green as you move from beginning to solved.
Yep.
So a more analog version, which is great for like one person, and if you can keep it organized.
Mhm.
And that's always a problem with any of these.
Right.
But it doesn't work so well if you're trying to share. And I do try to do that concept, not so much for sharing, but kind of, Chris, what you were talking about, being able to go and reference that when you get to the cache and can't figure out where it actually is.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm behind the times with all of my data and my technology. So I can remember when I first started doing puzzle caching, you had to correct the coordinates. It was all by hand. You couldn't just do the corrected coordinates on the page, and then you didn't even have the notes feature. So that was a big deal just to get the notes feature. So some of these puzzles I look back at that I solved when I very first started, there's no note, there's no nothing, because we couldn't do it all then. So then I have to try and go back and find one of my notebooks or umpteen legal pads and look through and see if I can find. And I certainly do wish I had done better about that. So if anybody out there is just starting, you start your good habits now, and you'll be happy later.
Yeah. Oh, and how many times have you started your chicken scratch calculations on the back of an envelope or something because it's like this really grabbed you and you have to do it, and then you go back and try to find it later and it's not there.
Mhm.
And like what Coaster is saying, he hates when he finds calculations with the final chords, but
Right.
doesn't have the GC code anywhere
Yep.
to tell what it is. So that's kind of one of the really nice things about getting into the habit of doing it in an organized fashion. So that's something, whether it's pencil and paper or some kind of electronic system, keep doing it in an organized fashion, and try to stick with it. And you can always do your improvements, but make sure that there are improvements to the system, not starting over. Which I've had to do a few times because I've switched from like Evernote to this to that. So I'm still trying to find something. And Tom Brotherman says I always use the notes. Now if I'd always do what I say, excuse me, and I do prefer using the notes for a lot of that because it's always going to be on that cache page. The problem is it's personal, so you can't share it, and it doesn't support any formatting aside from just plain text. So it's very difficult to put good notes about how you solved a problem in there for many puzzles. That doesn't mean you can't, but it does get more challenging for especially some of those like graphic puzzles. If you can't put graphics in at all. But I like to do a lot of the bold and whatnot to indicate, okay, these are the numbers that I pasted into this formula. And I just realized how long we've been going. We're actually right about time. Is there anything, though, Jennifer, that you wanted to share before we go? I know actually we should probably mention one interesting event coming up.
Yeah, I wanted to mention an event that Cully Long is part of. Cully Long, for those of you who might not know him, he caches as the name Child of Atom and is the owner of a whole bunch of really fine puzzle caches in New York City, Central Park, the Central Park Gates series. He is also the author of the How to Puzzle Cache book, which many of you know and love. This is the original version. He has come out with an update to that. So if you haven't ever gotten it, if you buy one now, you'll get the second version. If you have the old edition, you can buy the supplement. I haven't gone through all the supplement yet. I actually edited the first version, so I can wholeheartedly endorse that one, and I'm sure that the supplement is also good. He's got some more practice puzzles and things like that in there for people that are still trying to learn some new techniques and what this is all about. But what he's doing this weekend is a webinar that is co-hosted with one of the founders of Cache Advance. It is a webinar called Geocaching Puzzle Solving Secrets Revealed. And they're going to show you how to get started with puzzle caches, how to kind of grow your puzzle sense. And I expect that it will be, good stuff. I think we can put a link probably in the show notes somewhere, or if you go on Facebook and just search for How to Puzzle Cache, all separate words, you'll get the link. You can find the link there.
I think
so
it's
that's
also
coming up.
howtopuzzlecache.com or howtopuzzlecache.book.com to get the info on the book, which I'm sure he's got the link there.
Yep.
Tom Brotherman, though, says he bought the update just because his original wasn't a spiral bound.
Oh, yeah.
And I will say that is a good tip. Always get the spiral bound.
That way it lays flat when you open it, and you can write in it and mess with it, and definitely.
Yeah, it's a little harder to get the spiral bound, if I recall, because you have to go through, what is it, Lulu that's doing his printing?
Could be.
Yes.
Yeah, if you try to get it through
Amazon or
Amazon,
whatever,
it's only going to be the perfect bound, which is the standard binding. So
yep.
He does have the links on the website for that as well.
Yeah. And that webinar is going to be this Sunday, the 19th at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you go to the link, there's a count me in thing you can put on. I don't know if you register, then you get the actual information about attending the webinar or what. I haven't clicked on it yet, but sounds like good stuff to me.
And did we mention it's completely free?
It is.
Free is always good.
You got to love
and worth every penny, but I'm sure actually worth more than that.
I was going to say, after I said that, I'm like, well, maybe free isn't always good. We have lots of free things going around right now that have been keeping people from work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Bring that up.
All right. Well, thank you so much again. And we'll have the link to the Puzzle Cache a Day website blog. Blah. I'm starting to get tongue tied. I apologize.
It's late.
Yeah, it is late and I'm ready to go back to sleep, but I have to do this. Anyway, so thank you once again. And we look forward to having you on in the hopefully much closer future than we've had between the last episodes.
I appreciate it. Like I always say, my family can't believe there are people that actually like to hear me talk about puzzle caches. So you ask and I will answer.
Nice.
All right. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. Now, don't forget Friday night. That's tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, not 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to have our very first patron game night.
I am so looking forward to that. That's going to be a real blast. But we also have 3 new shows coming up that we've got scheduled. We've got the caching ethics next week. Then we have GSEC once again. Then the third and final show that we have scheduled so far is another randomized. So make sure to get your comments, questions, points of interest, any of those articles, whatever you want us to talk about, into us at geogearheads@cacheamaniacs.com. Again, that's geogearheads@cacheamaniacs.com.
And make sure to check out the Cacheamaniacs website at cacheamaniacs.com for more on the Geo Gearheads, including show notes for this and all of our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners, so leave us feedback by emailing geogearheads@cacheamaniacs.com or through the many channels of social media. Your support helps keep the Cacheamaniac shows coming. Please consider becoming a patron through the link on our website to support the Cacheamaniac shows. Geo Gearheads is produced by Chris Umfenauer and Daryl Wattenberg. The show's copyright 2020 by Daryl Wattenberg. All rights reserved.
Cache with the Cacheamaniacs.